Hey, welcome to another episode of Design Under Influence. I'm your host, Alex Osenenko, and I'm pleased to have Boris here with me. Boris, say hello to the fine folk who are watching.
Hello, everyone. And yes, welcome to another episode. I hope this is going to be educational for you.
Yeah, my brother yesterday said that he gets a lot of his content from YouTube. Like I said, hey, you want to listen to this podcast? So we're talking about when fishing, we talk about all kinds of like how we consume information to stay informed and competitive and whatnot in our respective roles. And he's like, yeah, I'm all YouTube. So he's listening to YouTube. He's watching YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, great. So the premise of the show, today we're going to talk about IT services, prices, and costs. This is going to be a juicy one because not very talked about subject. And so if you're an architecture, design, and engineering firm, you're in the right spot. We're going to sort of demystify different cost structures and try to do it quickly, efficiently with some, maybe a joke or two thrown in, right, Boris?
We'll try. Make it funny.
Levity is the spice of life, especially in this COVID era. Make you smile a little bit. We've done a pretty decent job, but information is our goal. Here we go. Let's start talking about different models out there, Boris. So you've been in IT for how many years?
Many. I'd say over 25.
25.
That's about right.
25. Wow. So you've seen a number of things transpire and how different companies price IT services. So right now we're going to mostly focus on outside IT or IT partners you would bring into your firm to help you manage your technology and hopefully help it go and become your competitive advantage. And so, Boris, let's talk about companies, first of all, that are more into a little bit, say, medium size. They're no longer small businesses. We're going to go back to small business in a minute, but companies who are like 11 people to about 50 people, what do you typically see are the service models? And then we'll dive into pricing for those service models.
Well, so I think currently in the marketplace, there are predominantly two service models that stand out. And then there's probably a few variations on either side. But the first one and kind of the easiest one to wrap your head around, especially, for architects and engineers who are in professional services, is the hourly model. This is where your provider basically works with you and everything they do is going to be charged back to you and billed to you at the end of the month, for example, right? So they basically bill for every minute they spend of their time working with you, whether, it could be 15-minute increments or hourly increments, but they're still billing based on how much work they do for you every month.
And in this model, let me just ask this question. In this model, internal IT, so 11 to 50, a lot of those companies, maybe towards 30 or so, have internal IT. And so is this the typical model for a company, let's say 30 team members and above?
Not always, no. I'm going to say that it all depends on how much help the internal IT may need, right? So if it's, if a person who's running the internal IT is technical and he's able to help the employees in the company with day-to-day tasks, then he may outsource or offload some of the more mundane tasks like managing backups or managing antivirus stuff. And that could be priced both ways. It could be priced in just the work that the company does, the outside company does, or it can be priced as a monthly fee and everything, any work that's done is included.
Got you. And so if we try to range the hourly rate for this sort of, let's call it, is it, time is material, T&M, right? What's the typical range?
Well, I'm going to say that on average is going to be around $175 an hour. It could be a little less, or most of the time it's more, because as you're getting into projects that require real technical expertise, that side of things, the experts are going to be more than $175 an hour. If you require just basic assistance with troubleshooting, standard computer issues, then it could be a little less. But especially in California, you're looking to, on average, pay $175 an hour.
Gotcha. And so if we take it back to the smaller firms, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, they're proverbial IT guy. There's definitely girls in IT, but IT guy is the nomenclature of a lot of people use. What does that person? They don't have internal IT clearly, and so what typically are they paying for this kind of hourly service?
I'm still, from what I know, the rates are about the same, right? Because it's still the same, same type of people, but they could be working with somebody who's less knowledgeable or less experienced, paying them less. But I guess we have to look at what the value of that relationship is, because pricing is one thing, but what you're getting back for that money is a completely different thing.
Gotcha. Okay. So the first model is your hourly person. A lot of people probably have that. You got something wrong, they come in and fix it. You have a new software, you need to install, they come in and help install and integrate it. You have new equipment you need to change, your file server broke, gave out on you, whatever, you get hacked, whatever. That's the person you call. What's another model?
As I mentioned before, there's few variations of the hourly model, like prepaid hourly model, for example, where you purchase, blocks of time ahead of time. So you pay like $1,500 to get 10 hours of time, right? So the prepaid hourly model is part of it. There's other kind of hybrid models, but on a complete opposite end of the spectrum is what is called the managed services model. Mm-hmm. And what that is basically for a nominal monthly fee, you get a team of people that help your organization run all of the technology for you, right? So you get level 1 and level 2 service desk people who will solve issues for your users. You get project engineer who will do more advanced projects. And then you also get a VCIO, virtual CIO person who will provide strategic guidance to make sure that you're investing properly. Your technology spend is invested properly that aligns with your business.
Gotcha. Do you see this managed IT service levels across both smaller and larger organizations, or this is more reserved for mid to large organizations?
I think so. We are in the last few years are seeing a lot more small organizations working in that model, right? As technology becomes a bigger part of the business, business owners understand that technology can, plays a very important role in their business, and they can see the value of the managed services model versus just the hourly model.
Gotcha. And so what is the typical cost for a managed service model? How is it being priced out there?
Well, there's a lot of different ways people price managed services. I can start with, how many devices are being managed, right? Whether it's servers, network equipment, computers, mobile devices. So there's per device models. There's hybrids of per device and prepaid hourly. There's hybrids of per device and per user. So there's a variety of different ways. Most of it has to do with the risk that the business presents, right? So basically, I think, so when we do managed services, we become a part of the business, right? We as a company inherit the risk that is in the business, because it basically makes, like, we're as invested as the business owners into making sure that everything works properly, because if it doesn't, all our labor is already included in the price of your monthly service. So if we have to spend more time, then we begin to lose money on our side to keep your business up and running. So a lot of people look at that inherent risk to price their services.
Very interesting insight. That's a very interesting insight. So an IT company, a business owner would bring in on a managed service level, charges, let's say a monthly agreed upon monthly fee. And a lot of this labor is already rolled in. So once they set everything up, your job is to maintain it and consult on positioning and making sure technology spend is effective and efficient, and it aligned with company goals. Okay, so that's good. But when something goes wrong, the IT company is the one who shares the risk, because the recovery might take hours and hours and hours, and those are unpaid hours technically because they're not hourly. And so we'll get into advantages and disadvantages of both system models in a bit, but I think I'm getting, but still give us an answer on what is typically a company, let's say of 15 architects and, some support people. What would they pay for a managed IT service? Like, what's the range?
So I'm going to say, and again, it may vary geographically, but in California, they should be expecting to pay anywhere from $100 to $300 per person.
$100 to $300 per person. So got it. That's like kind of your average plus any projects if they have like special projects.
So again, depending on the plan, those special projects can be included or not included. For example, on some of our basic plans, we don't include special projects, but we also, our monthly fee is low enough to kind of give that entry level managed services to include everything that you need to run your business. But then if you need to do any special projects, those would be extra.
Gotcha. By the way, if you're watching this and you need an example, go to getarchit.com. We publish our pricing because, we believe in absolute transparency when partnering with clients. So we ourselves are a managed IT company. And so the prices are out there on our website. You can check it out and sort of see what price your organization may fall into. And so that will help you budget for bringing an organization like ours. Okay, so let's talk about advantages and or disadvantages of hourly and managed IT. I mean, I can already see shared risk is a big one. Business owner, you play, there's so many moving parts in the business. If the IT is solved and your technology is actually integrated, working, and your productivity is high, that's such a big piece of the business, huge piece of the business solved for you. But there may be benefits in just getting somebody an hourly. Like break those down for us, will you?
I'm going to try. And as you mentioned, we are a managed services provider, so I may be a little biased. I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. But let's start at the plan, right? So if you're working with somebody on hourly basis, the advantages for you as the business owner is you can possibly minimize the upfront costs of IT services, right? So you can say, look, we have an agreement with this person. We pay him $150 an hour. So we only call him a couple of hours every month. We can, our IT costs or IT service costs are only going to be around $300 a month, which is pretty low if you're a 5 or 6 person firm, which is pretty low compared to what I've just mentioned to you before in terms of managed services range. However, along with that come other complications, right? You have to not only take the cost of actual service into consideration, but the cost to your business. And what may happen, and we see that happen a lot of times when clients come to us, is that their biggest complaint is their IT guy is not responsive enough, right? So they may have an issue. They call that guy, but he has other clients to worry about.
Guy or girl?
Or guy or girl, sorry, yeah. It's just, as you mentioned, it's always been
nomenclature, IT guy. Yeah, I got you. So they call her, and you get no response. We've done a whole blog on this, the whole video series, I should say, on this. And we got some calls because of this, because people like, yeah, I'm getting that right now. I'm not getting a response. So we got some calls and new clients coming on board just for that particular episode we've done, which was like a few episodes ago. But anyway, carry on, please. I'm sorry.
Right. So that's one piece of it. And it's a very important piece because if you're in trouble and you need your systems to operate and you need your people to continue working and continue to produce that billable revenue, right? So you can get paid. That's a big problem. And, we can see that sometimes it takes 2-3 days on critical issues. Like your file server may be down, but you're not getting a response from your person for 2-3 days. And understandable, because they have another client and they may have a similar problem to that or even worse problem, right? So that's the drawback.
Sorry to interrupt, Boris, but I just want to underline this for business owners as an entrepreneur and business owner. This is a big risk think of it as insurance policy. It's not really insurance policy because managed IT does a lot more than just sit there and be ready for problems. But just so you know, and I've felt this before myself, when shish goes wrong, you have nobody to call. And whoever you call, if they're not right there, in your office within a short amount of time, the business will suffer. So it's a big layer of risk that you are adding to your org by having a person that is, only sometimes available and only working for a couple hours a month solving critical issues, where everything else is sort of on your shoulders as a business owner. So that's a truism. Okay, this isn't something I'm trying to sell our organization here. This is a truism, and it is true for both. For IT, it's true for marketing, it's true for other disciplines within the business. But sorry to interrupt, Boris. I thought I'll just sort of interject and help people digest that. It's a way to do business. People have hourly IT people all the time, no problem, until there's a problem.
Right. Yeah. That was a great explanation. Couldn't have said it better myself. But there's additional considerations there as well. You mentioned something, and I think I just lost my train of thought. That's fun. You mentioned something that the person, right, having to send somebody on site, that's one thing, right? Can a person come on site? But also, most managed service providers have tools that they can deploy in your organization so that they can solve issues quickly, remotely, right? Mm-hmm. And have the people available for your phone call in case something like that happens. But also have the tools in place to monitor and maintain your systems so that issues like this don't happen. And I think we're going to touch on that a little later, but I'm kind of transitioning to that. Is going back to the point of, we're trying to lower our monthly costs. That's why we have hourly IT. Now that, again, that's great if you're paying $300, for a couple of hours of that time. But what we see also happen a lot is because we're trying to manage those monthly costs, is the business owner basically doesn't call their IT expert or the IT person for many issues, right? So they try to shoulder all of that on their own. Yep. If there's new users that need to be created, if somebody forgets a password. So the cost to the business is a lot more than that $300 a month. It's lost productivity. It's lost hours that you can be working on the business instead of in the business. And I think that adds up. And I believe we did a show on this already, but just again, like that adds up to maybe a few $1,000s every month for the business owner.
Easy. I just want to bring one more example. I don't want to hammer this down, but it's such an important piece to truly sort of internalize as a business owner. Look at just an offboarding process. I remember running my agency. When we let somebody go or a contractor, completed a project, they had access to all our stuff, specific customer accounts and all the things they were working on. And when they're offboarded, am I the business owner? Am I going to be able to go and make sure every single system access has been revoked? Information has been saved. All the user activity has been documented in case something goes wrong in the future. And you know what that person has done, what files they have, what files they left, where they left it. So you can go back and get that stuff, whether it's an employee or contractor. Like that itself, just think about that. And when you let somebody go, you're not doing adequate job. Even adequate job, not even good job. Because I know I have not. And if you do, you're spending way too much time on this. Like, think about that. Then you're not writing your business, you're writing systems and procedures list for offboarding people, which is costing you money because you're not running your business. You're putting systems and procedures. That's something that your team should do, your trusted IT team. And so that's my piece. I don't want to beat this down anymore, Boris. Do you have something to add?
I want to add something to that because it is actually something that just happened recently to me, right? So we brought on a customer and they had some offboarding and onboarding that they needed to do. So when they're making these requests, like they requested for a phone call and they told us, oh, you need to do this, and this. And we're like, don't worry about it. We have a checklist. We've already discussed this. You don't have to tell us every time what needs to be done. So you can focus on other things. We'll follow the checklist that we put together, and you can be rest assured that the offboarding process is going to go as smoothly as it needs to be. And so it took actually a couple of those offboardings to put their mind at ease, which is understandable. But that just means that with the previous provider, they had to tell that person or people like step by step everything that needed to happen, and they had to keep it in their head all the time.
Gotcha. So let's round this out with sort of a quick discussion on industry specific versus not. When I ran my agency, we were very specific. So we did marketing services or growth services for organizations. We were in a very specific niche kind of industry. We did not go outside of it, and we done really, really well. Question: do architecture, design, engineering firms, should they look out for an IT partner that specializes in their industry, or somebody that's just really good and not necessarily have the specialization, somebody who matches the pricing, who matches the value, the service, somebody they can trust based on other recommendations? Like, how do you, and just be as sort of unbiased as possible in this, but how do you figure out, do you go with industry specific or do you go with general provider that's pretty good?
Well, you want to go with a good provider. So I'm going to say that for sure. Whether the provider is industry specific or not, if they're checking a lot of the proper boxes to make sure they're responsive, proactive, and strategic on your behalf, that's one of the, that's a set of criteria that you need to look at to choose a provider. Now, industry specific or not, my big belief, and this is why we only work with architecture, design, and engineering firms, is that you do need to look at being industry specific or choosing a provider who's industry specific. And the reason for that is, in my 25 years of experience or more, I've worked with a lot of different organizations, a lot of different businesses, and architects and engineers, and everybody's probably going to tell you that, they're special and their tools are special, but I've noticed it myself, right? The tools that architects and engineers use are a lot more complex and are required to do a lot more than just, simple tools that a law firm or an accounting firm may use. I mean, a law firm or an accounting firm can get away with just using spreadsheets and Word documents for everything. An architecture firm.
Okay. Right. Not the one that wants to scale, but okay. Yes, they can get away with it.
Right. What I'm saying is, they need some databases to manage cases. They need some other tools, but at the basic level, they can get away with it. An architecture firm or a design firm or an engineering firm, in order to be successful today, needs to be running specific software, CAD software, BIM software, additional rendering tools. So there's a lot of complexity that comes with being an architecture, design, and engineering firm. And the IT team that you work with needs to understand that complexity, needs to look at a kind of comprehensive set of tools that you have when they make their recommendations. Because again, you want to work with people that can help you use technology as your competitive advantage. You want to work with people that can understand your business, understand your tools, and provide you the guidance for making the right IT investments. You don't want to be the firm owner who just tells your IT people what to do. At least from my standpoint, or as a business owner, I don't want that. Like, if I'm working with a marketing agency, I want them to know me and I want them to do their job. If I'm working with accountants, right, I want them to know me and I want them to tell me how I can better save on taxes and things like that. So I want to work with people who can make the right recommendations. I don't want to be the one who tells my consultants what to do, because to me as a business owner, there's no value in that. So go ahead.
That was very well said. I was just going to end it here, man. I mean, Arc IT, we are a good company that specializes in the industry. So, hey, give us a call if you need an IT service, but we were as unbiased as possible on this cast. But thank you very much for watching. Boris and I would love to earn your business. So if you need an IT help or just need advice or want to talk to Boris, want to talk to me, I don't know what you talk to me for. Talk to Boris. He knows all the stuff. You'd find us at getarchit.com. You'd fill out a form and you would get a phone call, and we'd love to have the conversation. Thank you very, very much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
And remember, technology is your competitive advantage.